Äh? Was ist hier los? Was ist das? Das Spiel hat sich restartet. Von alleine. So ist der Stand. Da konnte man schon die nächsten Schritte sehen. Ich habe mal geguckt, was da schon Vorhersagen standen.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ja, ich habe versucht zu merken, was passiert. Da stand, dass wir so einen Bücherstore finden und so und dass wir der Linie nochmal folgen. Ich versuche dann mal der Linie nicht zu folgen, wenn sie wiederkommt. Weil das stand da, also so als Vorhersage, wie die Story so abläuft. Das war so eine Art Storyboard, glaube ich.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ne, wir hatten hinten noch einen Raum, wo wir geradeaus laufen können. Das machen wir nochmal.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ja, ja.
Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider.
Ja, aber da sagt er wieder was anderes als vorher.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nee.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ja, natürlich. Ich bin so schlecht. Ist alles kaputt. Was ist denn hier? Okay, hier kommen wir aber nicht weiter, ne? Aber wir kommen auch nicht mehr zurück. Da ist die Tür geschlossen. Und springen kann ich auch nicht. Das heißt, wir müssen... Warning. Do not jump from the cargo lift while it is in motion. Will cause death. Okay. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift $1,000. Penalty for jumping off the cargo lift $5,000. Also ich muss $5.000 Strafe zahlen, wenn ich hier runterspringe.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Wer ist her?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life.
Was?
She's been waiting.
Was erzählt er da? Ich gehe hier weiter. So. Sieht gefährlich aus.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Schon ein bisschen gruselig. Hallo? Hallo? Alles weiß. Ich sehe nichts. Hä?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Was? Ah! Alter.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Alter. Diese Scheißpuppe, ne?
Sorry.
Alter.
You're in my story now.
Scheiß Erzähler, was ist da los? Alter, hab ich mich erschreckt, als die Puppe reinkam und eben gerade wieder, als diese scheiß Tür, die scheiß Steine. Dieser Erzähler, ne? Der macht, was er will, das ist meine Geschichte.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Was? Guten Morgen, Angestellte. 4-2. Drücke ihn auf deine Tastatur. Nein. Hier haben sie Dings verstellt.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Ah, das ist eine Bestrafung jetzt? Ach, jetzt müssen wir den Job von Stanley
Look at him
machen.
there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work.
Nein.
One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Drücke 5.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Das Ganze ist eine Scheißbestrafung vom Erzähler, weil wir so einen eigensinnigen Kopf haben und halt eben alles entgegen der Sache machen. Was passiert eigentlich, wenn ich nichts drücke? Haut diese Puppe mir in die Fresse? Ich hasse Puppen. Alter, ich hasse in Horrorspielen oder Filmen Puppen. Ich hasse sie. Vor allen Dingen, wenn sie dich immer angucken und immer näher kommen und sowas. Das hasse ich, ey. So, es passiert nichts, ne, wenn ich V drücke. Sagt er irgendwie was? Irgendwann? Nee, ich komme nicht weiter. Das ist eine Strafe. Ich komme hier auch nicht weiter als hier. Und warum kann ich meine Füße nicht sehen?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Drücke 9, um die Zeit mit Kindern zu verbringen. Nein, ich will nicht mit Kindern, die sind schrecklich. Nein, natürlich nicht, aber
So, he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last,
Alter, ich habe mich schon wieder an diese scheiß Puppe
barely
erschreckt,
even
Alter. Was
mattered
ist
what
das?
lay
Pack diese
behind
scheiß
the
Puppe
door.
weg!
The mere thought that his decisions would mean something
Alter.
was almost too wonderful to behold.
Mann, hab ich Gänsehaut jetzt. Drücke 6, um das Abendessen vorzubereiten. Dieser Sack Erzähler, Alter, der verarscht uns die ganze Zeit. Und das ist definitiv eine Bestrafung, weil wir jetzt genau diesen Job machen, den Stanley vorher gemacht hat, immer irgendwelche Tastaturen zu machen, wenn er Befehle bekommt. Wir bekommen jetzt Befehle, weil wir eben die ganze Zeit uns gegen die Geschichte gewandt haben oder gegen den Erzähler. Mann.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Hier hat sich das gerade verändert. Und zwar zu diesen Dingern. Ich glaube, kann es sein, dass die Story wieder zurückkommt und sich unseren Arbeitsplatz wieder zurückholt. Also es gibt ja 3, einmal den Erzähler, die Story, die eigenmächtig handelt und wir. Kann sein, dass die Story jetzt eigenmächtig handelt und wieder alles zurückholt. Ich bin gespannt.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Drücke F, um deiner Frau zu sagen, dass du sie liebst. Das ist doch keine Frau.
But there is no answer.
Ja.
How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Ja, also wie ich schon vermutet habe, die Story holt sich jetzt den Arbeitsplatz wieder. Wir sind nämlich 427 am Arbeitsmann, wer sich noch erinnert.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Natürlich drücke ich.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Bitte drücke R, um nichts in Frage zu stellen. Was ist das?
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Was nun? Bitte stirb. Spinnt er? Was ist denn los? Alles schwarz? Ah. Restart? Lustig. Okay. Das war schon... Das war sehr creepy. Alter, habe ich mich von eben gerade erschreckt da. Dieser scheiß Puppe.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
Ist immer noch kurz vor 11:30. Wir können natürlich immer noch rechts laufen und dann runterspringen. Das machen wir
When
nochmal.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly
Das
well.
probieren wir nochmal aus, dann haben wir
Perhaps
alles
he wanted
rechts
to stop
gemacht.
by the employee lounge
Fast
first,
alles rechts
just
gemacht.
to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? It's great, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nein.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
So, wir werfen uns hier nochmal die Dings runter.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the... But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
Okay.
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Ich bin so powerful, dass ich mich selbst umbringen kann in dieser Geschichte. Junge, Junge. Okay, dann fangen wir jetzt von... Das ist... Der Gang ist anders. Jetzt, wo wir gestorben sind, ist der Gang anders.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Jetzt haben sie es abgekürzt. Na gut, jetzt gehen wir mal links. Jetzt kommt nichts. Kein Lob dafür vom Erzähler?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Das sind ja coole Charts hier. Vor allen Dingen, Tipps nicht gefeuert zu werden. Wer wird nicht gefeuert? Using slides to assure employees that everything is okay. Make sure your slide has a slick blue graphic in it. Ja, das ist ja. Hauptsache man hat irgendwas Blaues oben im Kopf. Everyone is unique. You most of all. Also jeder ist einzigartig und du am meisten. Du bist am einzigartigsten von allen. Ja. Lustig. Number of slides on this slide. Charts in slides. Okay. Slides sind so diese Dia-Dinger hier. Rate at which charts...
Stanley just stood there doing nothing at all. He seems to think I have nothing better to do with my time than to sit around and describe every fascinating little detail of his inability to do anything. This is why Stanley and I are on such good terms.
Boss Appreciation Minute. In der Boss Appreciation Minute Worksheet Circle und... Es gibt also eine Schweigeminute oder sowas für den Boss. What are your dreams? Talk Radio, Charts about Football, Pollution, Spring Break. Ja, Spring Break ist natürlich Metamorphosis. Tipps von... jetzt fängt's wieder an. Tipps for not getting fired. Don't get fired. Talk less. Hier sind irgendwelche Charge. Things, money, more money, things, but with money. To buy more things, graphs. Graphs about things and money. What do people want? The stock market is somewhere here, okay. Profits. Also die sind nur auf Profit aufgelegt hier. Work harder. Hard worker. Spare between the teenagers. Was ist das hier? Meeting room. Floodings. Ach hier, das ist der Raum wie er benutzt. Do not alter without consulting while board manager. Rip Franz? Ist da wer gestorben? Tomorrow, complete today's unfinished agenda items. Ja, das ist schon immer gut, wenn man für morgen auf der Agenda hat, dass die Agenda von heute noch fertig gemacht werden muss. Right next day's agenda reflect. Okay. Employee 417, 491, 431, 405, 416 und Jim. Wer ist Jim? Not cost efficient. Standard rules. Get Chris out of the broom closet. Hire someone to synergize papers. Papers are to synergize. Fire paper guy. Hire somebody to fire the papers. Okay, who moved my desk? Please keep the targets on the topic. Cool. Alles ganz wichtige Zeichnungen.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Natürlich nicht. Das lesen, nee. Wenn ich ranzoomen könnte, wäre gut, damit ich das lesen kann.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Ja.
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever
Der
he
Erzähler
went?
ist cool.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
Ja.
No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Cool. Das geht.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Ja, allerdings.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes
Ein Raum
gently,
fehlt, ne?
and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Nichts passiert.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I'm real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Was? Was nun los? Everything went black. Plupp, schwarz.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Was? Ich bin doch Stanley.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.